Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about part of the Cold War known as the space race. Uh, so remember, the Cold War is this not real war between the United States and the Soviet Union, where we really don't like each other. Our ideas of what life should be like are very different. Our economies are very different. Our whole mindsets are very different. And because we're the two most powerful countries in the world, we're going to compete with each other a lot. And competition could be good and bad. Sometimes competition leads people to do really bad things, but other times it really forces you to do better. Uh, and we're going to see both of that kind of in what's known as the space race, the race for both countries to try to get into outer space and then to do cool stuff once they're in outer space. So if you look at your screen, your I can statement today is I'm going to have you at the end, you should be able to evaluate whether the space race was worth the cost. Because the space race is going to cost billions with the B, billions of dollars for the United States and the Soviet Union. And it still does cost lots of money for to do exploration in outer space. So is it worth the money or is it not worth the money? Oh, also, as we'll find out, unfortunately, people are going to die in the process. Astronauts are going to die in some explosions, some from both sides. So is that worth it? So let's see what the space race is all about here. So space race is going to really start in 1955 when the United States announces to the world, "Hey, we're going to send a satellite into outer space." And unfortunately, we were wrong because the Soviet Union actually did it first in 1957 with what they called Sputnik 1. That was the name of their satellite they sent into outer space. And just so you know, the idea of what a satellite is, all it means is something that is up above the Earth and orbiting it, meaning it's going around it. So, and there's, by the way, loads of satellites in outer space today. Uh, but they sent the first one up in the sky, and this is it right here in this bottom left corner. It wasn't that big, and all it could do was send a little radio signal back to the Earth. But it was a sign, basically, in the United States, oh crap, the Soviet Union's got the technology to send this to outer space. Because we realize in order to get a satellite in outer space, it needs to be attached to a rocket. And if you have a rocket powerful enough to send a satellite in outer space, that means you have rocket powerful enough to launch and attach things like bombs or nuclear warheads to it. So we realize that's pretty scary. And the thing is, we just lost, and the United States doesn't like losing in anything. So it becomes this matter of pride for both countries. Remember, the United States thinks it's better than the Soviet Union. Soviet Union thinks it's better than the United States. So it becomes a matter of pride. Like, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. And you see, this is a cover of Time magazine where it showed the race to the moon between the United States and Soviet Union, because that becomes the next major goal. Because remember, we want to see who has better technology. And what's going to get better technology? Capitalism, with these ideas, remember, of the free market. People set their prices. You decide what you're going to buy. If you can own a store, you can own a factory. You decide what you're going to make, how much you're going to sell it for, that kind of stuff. And if you make a bunch of money, the general idea is you get to keep it and spend it how you want. You can help other people with it if you want, but you don't have to. If you want to keep it for yourself, you can. That's the idea of capitalism. The main idea of communism is that the money in the country is going to be spread evenly among the people. The government's going to decide what's made in factories, what's made sold in stores, how much it's going to be sold for, how much is made, what kind of job you're going to have. That's the basic ideas of communism. So back to our space race, though, and the United States had said, remember, we're going to launch a satellite to outer space. Soviet Union did it first. Well, Soviet Union beats us again because they send the first man into outer space, this guy, Yuri Gagarin, in April of 1961, guy in the bottom left here. Fun fact for you, too. You know, we call our people go to outer space, astronauts. The United States does. Soviet Union called theirs cosmonauts. You'll probably see it in your reading, but I believe cosmonaut means like star sailors. They're sailing among the stars. And the no, sailors of the universe is what the cosmonaut means. And the astronaut means sailor of the stars. So very similar. That's what the naut means. The astronaut, cosmonaut, naut means sailor. The first American to get in outer space is this guy on the right side of your screen, Alan Shepard. And he went to outer space about 3 weeks after Yuri Gagarin. So we lost that one too. So shortly after this, the United States is pretty embarrassed. And our president at the time, JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, is going to make an announcement to everyone. We're going to the moon. And turns out we were correct. Because the United States is considered to have won the space race in 1969 when we landed Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon, the first people to walk on the moon. So Neil Armstrong, has that famous quote where he first stepped off of his little lunar module, is what they call it. It's small spaceship, basically. And he says, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." And then Buzz Aldrin is the next person that comes after him. By the way, if you've ever seen Toy Story, which I hope you have, that's where Buzz Lightyear gets his name from. And by the way, Buzz wasn't actually his real name. That's his nickname, but that's what everybody calls him. And that's what everybody he goes by. And the space race is basically considered over by 1975. As you'll see when you kind of piece together all these other different parts of the Cold War, the United States and Soviet Union were kind of getting along a little bit better in the mid 70s. And we actually started doing some joint missions together where we started meeting up with each other in outer space. And 2 of our ships actually docked together. And that's going to lead to some cooperation between each other. Here's the Apollo 11 crew. And by the way, Apollo was the code name given to all the missions going to the moon. And if you've been paying attention, you notice I only said 2 guys from this crew walked on the moon, but there's a 3rd guy in it. So this is Neil Armstrong on the left side. This is Buzz Aldrin, and this is Michael Collins. So Michael Collins went all the way to the moon, but didn't get to walk on it. So the way this worked is they take a bigger ship up to the moon, and from that ship there's a smaller ship that took off from it and landed on the moon. He had to stay back and pilot the main ship, so kind of got the short end of the stick there, but he still got to go to outer space and fly around the moon, and that's pretty darn cool. And this is a picture of the launch of the Apollo 11 rocket. Pretty cool. An actual picture of a view from the moon. And this wasn't the only crew that go to the moon. There's actually many more to go from the United States afterward, and the Soviet Union lands on the moon as well. Later, the United States changed our mission rather than going to the moon, because we did that a bunch of times. We started doing what's called the Space Shuttle program. Notice how this looks different than the rocket used to go to the moon. Space Shuttle, once it got up, it detached from all these fuel tanks here, and it looked more like an airplane itself. But it went to outer space, and one of the most famous things from all of it's not really the space race anymore, but just space exploration in general, is a tragedy known as the Challenger explosion. This happened in 1986. Where a rocket like this was being launched to outer space, and it unfortunately blew up just 73 seconds after takeoff. And it was a huge deal, and here's why. Here's the crew from the Challenger. There's 7 of them, and this lady right here, Krista McAuliffe, and I hope I didn't say her name wrong, she was actually a school teacher. She had won a contest. She was a teacher teaching kids in the school, and she won a contest to actually get to be the first teacher in outer space. So people all across the United States were watching it. Some people believe that is almost like 50% of kids around your age in fifth grade were watching it on TV live when the explosion happened. And it's really sad to think about because, I mean, these people's families were sitting there watching. They were so excited. And then all of a sudden, boom. And it was a simple mistake made by not these guys, but the people who designed the rocket and worked on the rocket. They had a little O-ring, which is like a sealant that's on there, had deteriorated, meaning it kind of wasn't working right, or something like that, and it caused the entire thing to blow up. Pretty scary thing. Another thing in outer space is the International Space Station, and that went up and started going up in 1998 and is still being used today. Interesting about this is half of it is owned by the United States, and we use it in cooperation with loads of other countries from the world. And the other half is owned by Russia, what used to be known as the Soviet Union during the Cold War. And we work together in the International Space Station to do experiments in outer space, to learn what happens if people are in outer space for a long time. And there's been over 200 people that have went on rockets to this and stayed on it. And a lot of crew members stay on it for like 5 or 6 months at a time, which begs for some pretty interesting things because you have to figure out how to do things like shower and eat and exercise in outer space and some other stuff as well. So a lot of cool stuff going on there. And and there is actually a program where Alistrad Middle School had sent some experiments there. Students got to design experiments to go to the International Space Station. And we had 3 years ago now, had experiments that some girls from Alistrad Middle had sent there. And we had another one going there this year. So that's a pretty cool thing. So knowing all of this and how people had to die and billions of dollars from accidents, people had to die, not on purpose. Billions of dollars spent to go to the moon and go to the International Space Station and things like that. I guess your question is, going back to your I can statement, was, is it worth it? Is the space race worth the cost in terms of money, in terms of human lives? And that's up to you. So that will be your little assignment, and that's all we got today.